Hiya. So this is where I'm at today. Last week was a really disappointing week. I was in touch with a couple of people more than usual that were really questioning advice and techniques that they'd been offered, practices that had been recommended to them by other pet care professionals in my area. And it really did upset me actually. And last weekend I spent quite a lot of time thinking about this and thinking about the types of advice and practices that are being recommended. So the thing that stood out to me the most last weekend was a lady that had contacted me about dog training classes. She had been in touch with somebody else to get her puppy into classes, and they had advised her not to wait until her puppy's vaccination was complete, and that would be too late, and that actually she should ignore the advice of her vet and bring her puppy to classes straight away. This is shocking enough by itself, and the person that runs those classes went on later in the week to post a social media comment telling people that if you're concerned about vaccines and disease and things like that, then maybe you should seek therapy, that if you weren't prepared to try and socialize your pups before the schedule was up, that you were not a proactive dog owner, and that you would not be welcome at her classes, and lots of things like that. And I thought, gosh, this is really such a shameful thing to be writing on your social media. But I think what shocked me more was that so many people were sharing, and they were loving her comments, and they were really engaging with it, and they were loving it. And I mean, this is such dangerous advice. Vets are not telling us to keep our puppies in longer than they need to, or because somehow it satisfies them. They're saying this because it's what's safe and it's what's recommended for your pup. So that puppy, had she taken that advice, would have been at massive risk of lots of diseases, but parvo is a deadly disease. And had the puppy had got parvo, I mean, there's plenty of treatments available, but they aren't guaranteed. And most puppies do not survive when they're very young from a bout of parvo. So this is really serious. And it got me kind of thinking, you see, because I regularly do get contacted. I mean, recently I made a video about somebody who had been advised to pretend to offer their dog food and then take it away by way of dominating them. I hear techniques of people squirting lemon juice into the dog's mouths. Prong and shock collars are still being used really frequently. Certainly up in Scotland, they're not banned here, and they do get used quite a lot. And these techniques, while it is legal to buy an electric shock collar, it might not necessarily be legal to use it, because those 5 freedoms I talked about earlier actually state that an animal should expect to live in an environment free of pain and fear. The 5 freedoms that were set out are not all inclusive. They are very, very basic. They are absolutely the barest minimum that an animal should ever expect to receive from their caregiver. The first rule is that a dog should receive adequate food and water. The second rule, they should receive bed and shelter. The third rule says they should get they should be pain-free and fear-free, and they should expect a good standard of health and preventative health care. So that includes vaccinations and worming and things like that, and proper routine investigations from a vet. The fourth rule says an animal has the right to act naturally. And the fifth rule says that they have the right to comfort. And comfort means they should have a clean environment, they should have natural light and heat. So these are not luxurious standards that the law has set out for our animals. This is the basic minimum, and none of us set out to meet just the barest minimum standards for our dogs. We want the fluffiest of beds, and you know, the best type of food. We spend hours researching what kind of food we should give our dogs, and what kind of toys are best for them, and how should we do, what kind of clubs that we can go for them, where should we walk them, all these kinds of things. So pet owners are not looking for the barest minimum. When they come to us as caregivers, they expect us to promote the highest standards and help them achieve them. So when they come to us and they're being advised to use squirty lemon and prong collars and things like that, they're trusting us to give them good advice, and we're failing that if we are being allowed to get away with giving out advice, telling people they should use these things. The law protects animals from the use of these devices. Shock collars and prong collars are prohibited by use by the third rule, which says an animal has the right to live free of pain and fear. So you can't use a prong collar or a shock collar to train them, because that's not a justified use of that tool, and it will create pain and fear for that animal. So the rules are already there that allow us to stop these types of practices. So I'm really not sure why they're not being followed up and why prosecutions aren't being made. People that use these techniques are not shy about them. They're happy to talk about them all over their social media. They're happy to promote them. People are happy to share their stuff. So it's not very hard to find somebody that uses these devices and find evidence that they do use them and they promote them. A local trainer to me recently was in the newspaper promoting her use of shock collars and how great they were, and what a useful training tool they are, and how many dogs apparently she's saved by using these things. So there's plenty of evidence to say that people are using this, and we know it violates these rules. I don't understand why more is not already being done. We don't need to ban things. We don't need new legislation. The legislation is already there to protect the animals. It just needs to be enforced. So that's kind of where I'm at today. It's been a frustrating weekend, and I'm going to continue to think of different things. What can I do to try and help promote more kind methods of training, legal methods of training? But in the meantime, if you're considering a trainer, consider that those rules are set in law, and that if you are using a trainer that recommends these rules, then maybe there's a better trainer for you and for your dog that will help you achieve the very highest of standards, you know. But anyway, that's my rant over for the day. Have a great day yourself, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.